But first, to one of the world's staple foods. Having rebounded from a decade-long drought with a big crop and brimming water storages, you'd think it would be full steam ahead for Australia's rice industry. But there are simmering tensions that threaten to boil over. The drought left SunRice, the grower-owned rice company, under a mountain of debt. Yet shareholders rejected a sellout to a multinational food giant. This week, SunRice CEO Gary Helou resigned, and now some growers are threatening to form a breakaway body.
As this year's rice harvest in the Riverina clatters to a conclusion, amongst rice growers meeting in the nearby town of Jerilderie, there's an atmosphere of tension and consternation.
I think it is an important day for SunRice, and I think people have weighed that up with a heavy heart.
Today, the rice growers must decide whether to sell their grower-owned company to an overseas multinational.
Take care.
A yes vote would wipe off the company's massive $300 million debt. A yes vote would also take away their autonomy.
Yeah, we'll be a price taker, Tim, there's no doubt. They'll dictate to us.
It's a case of patriotism versus pragmatism.
SPC, Heinz, McCain's, it's all happened. There's no good stories with any of the other ones that have been sold overseas, so yeah.
Few issues have been so polarising as the takeover offer by Spanish food giant Ebro Foods. Those for say it's the only way forward. Those against say it would be the biggest robbery since the wild colonial days, when the Kelly gang held the town hostage.
Ebro Foods make their money by rebranding their product from other countries. So our Papua New Guinea prop there's 200,000 tonne that goes into Papua New Guinea. That might be shipped out of Asia by Ebro Foods to supply that market, and they pick up on the freight and they pick up on the cheaper rice, and that it's a 200,000 tonne market that we'll lose out on.
Most were predicting a close result. For some unexplained reason, the meeting was closed to the media. But the attempted secrecy failed spectacularly. Every word wafted clearly from the tent.
A-class shareholders have not approved the proposed scheme and the supporting resolution.
To succeed, the takeover offer needed the approval of 3/4 of the A-class shareholders and the same percentage of B-class shareholders.
In the case of B-class shareholders, 76, the vote was 76% in favour, and in the A-class shareholders, 67%. So that's a strong percentage, but we'd have obviously liked it to have been carried.
I'm Jill Park from Deniliquin. Been growing rice for 40 years, and we are just so happy. We are so happy. Rice growers, SunRice has stayed Australian. We just can't believe it. We're so happy.
The board have put a lot of time into getting this over the line, and a good idea sells itself, and obviously this idea wasn't good enough.
Jerry Lawson, I guess, was that a surprise, the result there?
I think when a board decides that an offer that's been made is an appropriate offer, you hope that people will accept that.
Ebro, the world's largest marketer of rice, has said its takeover offer of $610 million for SunRice was a once only.
But who knows what the future holds.
Now that growers have voted to reject the takeover offer, they face the next big challenge, and that is reducing the company's enormous debt. $300 million is hardly chicken feed, and some accuse the chairman of running up the debt. In 2006, Jerry Lawson led the board when SunRice paid $125 million to buy rice storage facilities from the New South Wales government. Others accused the board of hiding the extent of the debt. The amount wasn't known until the Ebro offer came along.
I'm a B-class shareholder, and I think that, OK, they've voted that way. What the A-class shareholders have to do now is put their hand on their heart and say, with every drop of water allocation that we get for the next 10 years, we will grow nothing but rice. We'll keep a bit for stock and domestic, 30 or 40 megs, but the rest goes into rice, and we'll pay this off. But at the moment, they're chopping and changing, selling water and all sorts of things, and that's why I don't think it'll be tough going.
Reducing the debt may mean growers pay a levy for every tonne of rice grown. Some calculate as much as $70.
They don't have any choice. I mean, high gearing,
gearing used to be held by the farmers, now it's not, it's held by the banks. The banks are going to be putting pressure on, so there's going to be an enormous job in raising money to reduce the debt, and that money has to be found by the growers.
At least this year, growers are enjoying their best crop in several years.
We've had a tremendous crop. Our yields have been good, and it's good to see that we're producing about probably 840,000 tonne they're talking this year, so that puts us back in good stead as our rice comes in the southern hemisphere, different time to the other parts of the world that grow rice. It puts us in standing good place, I reckon.
Milton Stimson and his brother Lloyd grow rice near Coleambally. They voted no to the Sunrise sale.
We're a very unique company. We can control our rice right from the farm right through to the supermarket shelf. It's our own brand, and we're all very proud of that, and that's the way we want to retain it.
As strange as it sounds, the exceptionally wet year and the cool summer were far from ideal. Much of the crop fell over, making it hard to harvest. But it's a far cry from the 200,000 tonne crop of last year.
This year we're talking over 800,000 tonne. There's talk of drought in China and things like that, so that might play into our hands. We hope it will anyway.
In a year like this, the value of rice is staggering. It'll earn about $800 million, 500 of that from value-added exports. 63 towns have come to rely on rice, none more so than Deniliquin.
It's just been a fantastic outcome having a normal crop year in front of us. The Deniliquin mill here, which is one of the biggest mills in the southern hemisphere, was regrettably forced to go into care and maintenance mode in 2008.
In plain language, it was closed, a victim of meagre harvests during the height of a 9-year-long drought. But late last year, the company decided to reopen it.
Those 100 jobs will expand to around 140 new jobs by the time we finish recruitment, which will allow this plant to go from a 6-day-a-week operation, which it's operating at the moment, to a 7-day-a-week, 24-hour-a-day production program. So the flow-on impact around Deniliquin's been just massive. I mean, for every job the agricultural sector creates, there's about a 4-to-1 flow-on, and the economy here in Deniliquin has picked up massively, and as it has right across the Riverina.
Well, for the turnover for our company, it's well over millions.
Aerial agricultural contractors Field Air are also slowly rebuilding after drought almost crippled them.
It's affected our business that much that we've laid all our ground staff off and sort of sold planes to sort of outrun the drought sort of thing, but now we've come back in to good times. Well, we've got no ground staff, no planes.
There are massive fleets of trucks at the moment, which are pretty hard to get hold of, but big fleets of trucks at the moment taking product to wharf to head to Japan. The mill at the moment's milling orders for both Japan and Taiwan.
The refurbished railway has reopened.
Rail taking export product to Port of Melbourne for export. That's what the rail line's significance is.
Another rice grower who vehemently opposed the sale is Michael Rosato. Landline viewers met him 3 years ago when, in the middle of the drought, he was one of the few to have a crop. Like many, Michael Rosato believes the hardest years are now behind them.
Very close result, but I think there's a bit of hope now, isn't there? Like, sort of we can go forward, and I think people will do it.
Rice is only grown in wet years. During the long drought, there were years of next to no crop. It meant Sunrise bought rice from overseas to meet its customer orders, and that meant a spiralling company debt. Drought also bit into the bank balances of growers.
There's no fat left amongst the boys out here. They've been cleaned out with the drought, and so we're all scratching for money.
It's really unfortunate that people have lost a bit of confidence in the industry in terms of reinvesting.
Then there's the uncertainty of future water allocations under the Murray-Darling Basin Plan. And that has left some growers with little confidence in the future of rice.